Good morning. It's Missy Creates. It's Melissa at Missy Creates. How are you this morning? Assuming it's morning when you're watching this, but it's morning when I'm making it. It's very early morning, and I have about 45 minutes to an hour before I have to go, or before I'm leaving to go to work at the clinic this morning. So I thought I would try to get this journal made real quick, seeing how it's time for our August journal. So, you know, the last several times I've made a journal, I've started off with the Triscuit box. Oop, let me get a different one. Always bring two just in case I mess one up. So, anyway, I am going to see if I can squeeze my, my big, what do you call this thing? Trimmer? This is the big roto trimmer from... It has that rotor blade. It's Fiskars, the large, heavy-duty. Yeah, that one. So, let's see. I'm caught on something. Alrighty. First, what I do, I don't always do this part on camera, but I thought I would try it because it doesn't quite all fit in the camera. So, anyway, all I'm doing right now is cutting off the end, the tabs and things like that. And I do save these tabs because sometimes I use them to make tabs in my journal. Most of the time I forget to use them, but I have them. Maybe one day that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to, or maybe it would be fun to just create a bunch of tabs. I seem to have interference with my little arm here. All right, on this one, I start, let's see. I should have cut that one in just a little bit more because I see I didn't quite cut on that line. Let me see. When I cut the second one, I do try to get it like 9 1/4 because my paper is, nope, that's where it has to be. Because my paper is 6 by 9, no, 12 by 9, and when I fold it, it turns into 6 by 9. So I need this to be about, and it's not even, I don't know why, but anyway, I need this to be about 9, the height to be about 9 1/4, or even 9 1/8 would be fine. But I usually try to start at 9 1/4, and then I end up having to, you know, get a little bit of it off here and there. So here's 2 more tabs. So I have plenty of tabs. I don't save this one, and sometimes I don't save that one either because it's really narrow. I thought about making some bookmarks out of them, but I have a little pile of, I don't know where it went. I have one little caddy that just has extra cardboard in it. So I think that's going to be okay. Yeah, definitely should have trimmed the top a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to move this for just a second. We're going to use it again. So right now the box looks like this because it's still put together, right? We didn't. So then I look for the inside where it's glued together. And I don't worry about being too careful with this one. Well, I don't want it to tear the cardboard on the inside. And that one actually has some grease in it. Well, okay. We're gonna roll with it. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we just won't tell anybody, right? So, yeah, because this one was pretty dinged up right there. This one I will use. See how it's got a dent in the corner? This one I'll probably cut down and use for like tabs to separate out my stickers and stuff like that. So, okay. This is usually where I will flip it this way. I want to I want 6 and... All right, you do this every month. Let's see. I do it a little differently every month. This is going to be my first score line. And this is going to be the front of my journal. So obviously I need this flap cut off, but I also usually cut off a little bit more than that. Let's see. We'll bring this back in here. And let's start with this flap. Might should have done this part off camera, but I did not. So where are we at with this first score line? Well, it looks like it is at the 6.5. So if my papers, I'm going to cut in half, 12 by 12. So that means that there'll be 6. I don't need much of a spine, maybe a 1/2 inch. So 6 and 6 and a 1/2 inch is what, 12.5. So I only need the whole width of my box to be 12.5. So I'm going to cut I'm just going to cut this flap off for now, and then that one goes in the recycle. Actually, I put those in my compost pile. I recycle them myself. So let's see. But I do want this to be 6.5, or as close to 6.5 as I can get. And so I'm going to trim a little bit more off. It's not exactly straight. I wonder why. Okay, so I just took that little sliver off. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the back side. I wasn't planning on doing this part like a 2-part, but I may have to. Depends on when I run out of time. Okay, so I'm at the 7. So I have 6.5 from here to the first score line. And then I'm going to have a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to have 6.5. So that's 7 inches, right? So I've got my mark at the 7 inch. And I think that's where it needs to be. If not, we can always trim a little bit more off. So that gives me 6.5 and 6.5 with a 1/2 inch spine. That should be plenty. That actually is a little too, but it's okay. I liked having that extra last month. If you remember, in July, see how much extra space I have between my papers and the outside of my journal. And I like that because then I can let things run off the edge if I need them to. So I'm good with those measurements. So I'm going to put that up. Oh, I did not get out my scoreboard. Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of racket. Bear with me. I've got to open up a drawer. Oh, good. It's right on top. So I don't have to make too much noise. Let's see. Yep, this side. And then what I've been doing is, that's going to bother me a little bit, but I'm just pretending like it's not there. It's not wet or anything like, I think it just got wet or something. Okay, so my first score line, this is the front of my journal. Yeah. And it helps me if I keep the front of the journal. Sometimes I do it backwards and then I have to really think hard. So I try to keep what would have been the front of the box as the front of my journal. Yeah. So I'm at almost 9 1/4 height-wise, which is perfect. And this first score line is almost at 6.5, which is great. So now I'm going to use this one. And this is where I just take and do a series of score lines. I'm going to try to do a 1/2 inch worth. Let's see. 1/2 inch. I'm going to go to about right here, I think. It's the notch right before the 7 inch. And then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to see where that puts my, well, I always have trouble staying on this line. This bone folder is a little bit easier to do it. There we go. Ooh, it put an indentation in my finger though. Okay, I'm going to flip it because I want to see where that ends up. I want to make sure this one ends up at 6.5 as well from that side. That makes both covers 6.5 inches. Right? Is that good journal math? And then all I'm doing is making some lines. It helps it roll. It tells the paper, I want you to kind of bend here. Or kind of roll. See, we're ignoring this flap right here. Now what I want to do is I want to make a definite bend on this first score line, the one we made at 6.5. I want to retrain this cardboard to bend there. And that's really all you're doing, is training your paper. Or cardboard in this case. Cracker box, whatever. So it won't have to bend quite at a 90-degree angle. Or yeah, I guess that would be more than a 90-degree, wouldn't it? Yeah, it definitely has to bend at least to a 90-degree, but it doesn't have to be a true fold. All right, so let's go back and measure, make sure we did this right. So 6.5 that way, and from that bend, and then let's make sure we're at 6.5. Yeah, so there we go. It should be 12.5 inches from side to side. I'm going to use that scoreboard again, so I just set it to the side. And now we get the fun part. I don't always show you all of that part, but I thought I would this time. We have some new folks. Welcome. And I thought that I would just run down the whole process. Now see, when you kind of fold it, you got to tell it, no, I want you to fold up here. Because it wanted to, there we go. It'll get used to it. It just kind of has to learn its role. There. There we go. And then once we get all the paper on, this little crease right here, now I do try to flatten it down so it doesn't show a lot if you use thick paper. I've only had it show through like maybe once, but I always put it on the back, or I try to put it on the back side of the journal. So I just try to flatten that out a little bit. And then if you use cardstock or something like that, the only time it shows is when I use real thin paper. So this is a paper pack from Hobby Lobby that I got a while back. I don't know if they still carry it, but it's green and coral floral. Green and coral floral. We rhymed today. So, I have an idea what I want to use, but I want to just kind of see. Well, this one's already torn out. So, let's see what we think. Well, let's do it this way. So, that's what that one would look like. I'm kind of thinking that's what I like. I thought about going with a back to school theme because I have some papers that are could be used as back to school, and then I have that ribbon that has pencils on it or crayons. You remember that one? And I kind of thought about this one too as a non-floral option. I'm not going to go through the whole paper pad. This one I thought about because it's a smaller print and you can see more of it. You know, let me tear this one out. My only hesitation in using this one is this one I could use to make cards because it has a smaller print. I'm thinking about, well, if I went with this one, I could use this trim because it does have this light coral in it. So, okay, I think we're not gonna fiddle around with that anymore. I think this is our winner. I'm gonna put, let's see, I'm gonna put this back in this paper pad. The other thing I want to do is, let's see, let's put this one back in, and then I want to I'm thinking about using for the inside cover either this solid orange, it almost has like a canvas texture or a denim texture. Not denim. I don't know. It doesn't have a texture you can feel. It just looks like a texture. Or the one that I would suggest, I mean, I could go with green on the inside. Could go with that. There's a little bit darker version of the orange. Any of these would work for the inside. I was kind of thinking that one. But we're going to get the front. We're going to get the cover glued on first. Okay, so what I do, because this is 12.5 inches. Well, it should have been 12.5. No, it's not. It's 13.5 because we did 6.5 and 6.5. Anyway, I don't glue it right over the spine. One, you got to let that sit almost overnight, and I try not to do that. If I do it all the way, glue it all the way over my spine like that, like I did in the May journal, I had to cut a little strip down the side here on both sides, and I liked the look of that. But when you glue it over your spine, you're going to have to really let it dry, and so your journal's not going to be ready right away. So I don't want to do that. So to fix that issue, it's not a problem. It just means you have to do it a little differently. I do not have fabric that matches this, because otherwise I would do it like I did my June journal, and I would glue fabric over it, which again, you got to let that dry. The fabric using Fabri-Tac tends to dry a little faster though. But I looked yesterday and I do not have any fabric that goes with this paper. So I'm going to use my, it's not bookbinding tape exactly, it is medical tape. It's, what do they call that, fabric tape? I have to think about what they call it. You find it in, actually I found it at the Dollar Tree. You find it at the drugstores. Okay, so I'm cutting this paper in half, hopefully. Okay, if it is a true 12 inch, I cut it at 6 inches. And I'm gonna set that to the side for now. And I'm going to, well, I thought I was sort of ready. I'm gonna get my dry wax paper that I use. I get them from Sam's in that big box, and I do reuse this. Let's see. I just kind of want to put it under so that I can put the glue on the box itself. Both of these are the same, so it doesn't really matter which side we use for what. But I'm still maintaining, hopefully, that this will be the front of my journal. As a matter of fact, let me write a little F on the inside here, so that once I glue the paper on the front cover, I'll be able to tell that that's still the front. So I am going to put the glue on the cardboard itself, and I want to kind of look, I want the glue to go to about here. Let me get that pencil back out. And this doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of gives me a, you know, a guide so that I don't waste glue and I don't end up with it everywhere. So what I really want to do is I want to make sure this has a good cover of glue, especially on the outsides. I don't want my paper to peel up. Now, this edge closest to the spine will have, the tape will overlap it, I do believe, if I do this right. It will overlap. But I still like to make sure I have glue everywhere. Now, I'm going to glue right up to the 3 edges, or the 2 edges, and that way, well, in an ideal world, I'm going to glue right up to those 2 edges, so I only have to trim 1 edge. Now let me pull this back and make sure I have it all the way up, because I think I can scoot it up. You don't have a whole lot of time. This Scotch Creates glue is pretty quick. So, I took my nail polish off, although the nail polish I had on would have matched this. Why am I telling you this? And see how I didn't even put the marks there right. But anyway, when I was making the last journal, the one for my niece, I found that I got the nail polish when I was burnishing in the glue. I made marks on that paper with my nail polish. So, although you wouldn't have probably seen it on this cover like you did the other one, or I saw it, I didn't video that one. It was definitely noticeable. Yeah, see, I'm not quite straight, but it's good enough. It has to be because, well, I'm going to set that one aside because it has glue all over it. You can see I was kind of crooked, but I'd rather be over than under. And I don't think you'll ever notice that. Okay. Let's set that piece to the side because it's going to end up being one of my pockets. So when I do this, it makes, let's see, 1 12 by 12 paper makes my front cover and my pockets. That has glue all over it. Okay, I'm going to use my second glue sheet because the first one has glue all over it. So I don't want it to get on my paper. I don't mind if it's on the box. I don't want it on the paper as much as I can avoid that. And here's my second panel. And I'm going to glue, let's see, about to, well, come on. About to there. You don't have to do that. You just end up with some glue in your center, or I just want to make sure I get the glue all the way up to that place. That way I know that my paper is going to be glued on pretty well. So, and none of this is new stuff, but maybe, you know, we might have somebody that hasn't seen how to do this before. So this is a very simple way of making a journal or a journal cover. And it doesn't take very long. You're seeing this in real time. So you'll know exactly how long it takes. And I definitely have to come up. Okay, I went too far. I want it pretty close to right on it because I am using, like I said, I'm using the offcuts to make my pocket. So I want them close to straight. A little closer to straight than that. There we go. That might be a little bit better. Yep. That looks good. Oh, there it is. I almost lost my bone folder for a second. And this is just a bone folder for those of you who don't know that. It is from Dress My Craft. I got it from MayMayMadeIt.com. You can buy them other places, but that's where I got mine. I like to support small businesses whenever I can. And they are a craft store in Clanton, Alabama. And they are very good people. I've met them in person. You'll hear me talk about Maymay occasionally on my videos. And I do get to her store every once in a while. It's only about 2.5 hours from my house. So whenever we go that way, I try to make a little, you know, road trip her way. When I want to stock up on my, she does a lot of paper crafting. She does a lot of card making, but she's, you know, she does a lot of, she doesn't do journals like this, but she does scrapbook and folios. So anyway, little plug for Maymay there. Okay, so we're done with the front cover. I'm not going to worry about trimming that. Well, maybe I will a little bit. That was... I'm not going to worry about that yet. Not going to worry about that yet. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I'm going to put the paper on the inside now. Here's my F. We did not decide. I'm going to let that dry a minute, and then we're going to pick out, definitely pick out the paper for sure. For the inside cover, I am leaning towards, I don't think I want that green. I mean, it's going to be on the inside. I like that, but I will use that paper for something else. So I'm either thinking about one of these solid colors, or I'm really thinking I like that one. Yeah, let's go with that one. Did I already tear one out? Nope. Okay. Make sure I only get one here. I think this will be a good complement to the cover. Well, one thing is the pockets will go on this one. So it's not as busy as the floral, but it's not a solid either. So I need to cut this down to 6 inches. I hope I'm in frame here. Cut that down to 6. Measure twice, cut once, right? I know you hear that saying a lot. My grandpa worked with wood, which is probably where I got my love of woodworking, which I'm not doing at the current moment. But I know he used to always say that. Alrighty, so we're going to do the same thing for this one that we did with the front cover. We're just repeating the process. And hopefully the glue has dried off of this so I don't get glue on. Now I have my front cover facing down, so I want to make sure not to get glue on there. So, which I have before, and you can usually get it off or let it dry and then get it off. I seem to have lost my, here we go, my pencil. And all I'm doing is kind of making a sort of visual, literally a visual line, so that I know where I want my glue, approximately. And I like these wide, big glue sticks for this process. You don't have to use that, but it takes a whole lot less time. And you know, if you're using a real small glue stick, sometimes where you start putting glue on, it'll dry by the time you get to, you know, if you're gluing a large area. So that's why I like these. I'm not yet anyway. I know that at some point you can get like an Amazon store or whatever. I haven't looked into that, but as of right now, this is just what I use. I don't have any affiliation with them whatsoever. I mean, now, you know, if Scotch Create, their Scotch brand is actually watching my video and they want to, you know, they want to make me an affiliate, that would be incredible because I love that glue stick. And you know that if you've watched my channel, because I talk about it all the time. Okay. Peel that up. See, you could hear that it still had glue on it. Just want to burnish those edges really good. I really have had little peeling, very little peeling on my corners doing it this way. All right, I'm going to flip her over. and cut those off. I mean, I could use these as pockets if I wanted and not have the contrasting colors. What I usually end up doing is using these as tags in my journal or something else. Or a lot of times I just forget, you know. But I try to put them in my little bin to use for the month, you know. A capsule, if you will. If you do a capsule. I really wanted to do that this month, and I thought about it all through the month, and not really sure what I would put in it, but I have some things that I neglect to use, or I just forget about them. And so if I want to make sure that I use something for that month, I'll put it in my little bin with my current journal bin. The problem comes for me at the end of the month when I haven't used all that stuff and I meant to use it. So I would like to find a way to assure that I'm a little more diligent with that. All right, so I think I've got it pretty well covered at this point. Put the cap back on my glue stick so it doesn't dry up. And I'm going to actually turn this way so that I can see where I'm lining it up this time. And make sure I've got that covered. And I know I'm not close to my line, so I'm going to try to scoot it a little bit. I think that will work. I don't see it hanging over. But remember, that one paper hung over a little bit. So anyway, it is on there pretty well. So I'm going to give this a little trim. This way. And I like these long scissors for this because you don't have to whack at it like you do. These are long. I think they're like 9-inch scissors. These are Tim Holtz, the tonic scissors. These are the long, I think they're 9-inch shears. Okay, so now I'm not going to put the pockets on just yet, but if I were making pockets, I would probably make them about a 1/2 inch taller. But because I already have this piece cut and I know that it matches or it coordinates, you know, the pockets don't have to be any deeper than that. Now, if you want it to come back with a solid, you know, and make your pockets a little deeper, I don't know. I haven't had any problem. Last month in July, I did do a solid because I didn't have any coordinating paper for the front like I do on this one. Okay, so this is where, now putting this tape on, the only drawback to it is, well, there's two: getting it straight, and it does make it a little hard to poke through because it gets your needle all gummy. And so you don't have to put it down the inside. What I will probably do is just do it on the outside. Now, on the last journal I made, I did it on both sides, and it worked out fine. It made it a little bit harder to punch through, but if you are real particular, because if you only put it on one side or the outside, you almost have to fold it over. I don't guess you have to. You could trim it. Let's try it that way this time and see how it works. So I'm going to try to line this up here. And I'm going to leave enough room that if I want to fold it over, I can. Oh, and you know what? That is not working. That's very interesting. Okay. I haven't had that problem before. My tape is not gonna cover the whole bit. So, where is my back? This is my back cover, pretty sure. So I'm going to put it right up to the back. I'm going to line it right up with that paper the best that I can. Yep. All right. So I'm definitely not folding it over. So I've got that lined up right there. That is where the paper went out a little bit. Now, if it doesn't bother you to have a little bit folded over, then by all means fold it over. If it bothers you, then cut it right at the edge. But I'm just going to cut it right there. It doesn't bother me to have that little bit folded over on the inside of my cover. The paper is going to be here. You're not going to see a whole lot of it. This is where your signature is going. And then what I'm going to try to do is use some washi tape. I was kind of thinking this just because it has all the colors. I have this floral. I want to see what this looks like. And I might not put it on until I put my pocket. It doesn't really matter. Let's see. It matters because it's a floral. Let's see. And if it clashes, I guess it would matter. I gotta keep a watch on my time here. Okay. So that is very, it's a very muted. I can overlap a little bit. I'm gonna wait until I put my pocket on. I just made that decision right there on the spot. So I'm gonna put, and see, now you can't tell which side was the front or the back because you can't see that line. So it doesn't really matter. But I know that I left that little gap on the front because I'm gonna hide it with this trim right here. Or I have some white rickrack as a fallback. I wish I had some coral rickrack, but I don't. All I have is this hot pink. And I mean, it doesn't look horrible. It's huge for one thing. And I don't need it that big for this journal. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go, do you see how much bigger that is than that? I want to get some more of this in different colors. I have small rickrack and then I have the really big. All right, so I'm putting the pockets on this bottom right here now that I've decided which is my front cover. And I can barely feel that ridge from that original crease in that spine. Remember that one? Okay, so very seldom do I use my back pocket. So I think I'm not going to put that pocket. I'll save this and use it in the journal. If I want it, I can add it later. I'm going to make... here it is. I know I grabbed it so I'd have it. I'm not going to measure this. I can kind of eyeball it. There. And then I'm just going to, now this, I'm not going to use the glue stick. Because you want the thinnest line of glue possible. And I want one that dries quickly. So I'm using my art glitter glue. Or use some kind of glue with like a fine tip nozzle. Very fine tip nozzle. So you get the smallest little bead of glue possible. And I try not to move it once it's on. Well, never mind. I'm going to move it a lot once it's on. Inadvertently. That was not deliberate. And then I'm going to squeeze on the top to make a little pucker so that you can actually slide stuff in and out. There. You don't want too much, but you do want a little bit of a buckle right there so that, you know, when you pinch the top parts together, it makes the paper puff out so it's not laying flat. Anyway, so this is, I guarantee it's already dry. That stuff dries pretty quick. Anyway, how are y'all doing this morning? You getting your journals made? Now this, you actually do see through a little bit. It's on the back. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I mean, if I were making this for somebody else, I would worry about that. And if I were making this for somebody else, I would have found some fabric that matched or something. Or you could have put like, you could have painted it with white paint or some gesso or something like that. But it's for me. It's for the month of August. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So, now to sew it in. I already have my papers folded and ready to go. And if you're doing more than one signature, you really have to get precise with where you're lining up your holes, you know, because you want them kind of, the signatures sort of even and all that stuff. But really, with one signature, I don't necessarily worry about all that. I have this little paper that's kind of, it's sort of the height of my current paper. So really all I do is, because I'm going to punch through the spine and the paper at one time, all I have to do is mark my paper. Now, this is not the official way to, you know, if you're wanting an official way to make a book, this is probably not it. This is the quick way. This is the, it's my journal, and I don't, if it's a little off, I'm okay. Again, if I were making this for somebody else, I'd be a little more precise with it. And also, too, the number of signatures plays a big role in that. But now what I want to do is I want to kind of line it up top to bottom a little bit. And I want the bend of the paper as close to the center of the spine as I can get. Now that I do try to be somewhat precise with, but you know, it's going to get a little off. But actually it shouldn't that much, because I'm going to clip my papers there. And I need to clip them on the bottom too, because see how when it bends, they're not quite lined up. It's not quite lined up with that spine. So I'm going to put there. I'm going to bend it like this. I'm going to put 2 more clips down here. I don't know where the rest of my big paper clips are. So, now for my pokey tool. This is the tonic, and it is still sticky from the last one. I did not clean it. Okay, so I do have to scoot this in a little bit. Let me see it. I gotta get it lined back up. I scooted too much from this side. I don't know how to explain what I did. There we go. It was not all the way into, if that makes sense. I didn't have it all the way down in the crease there. And I did it again. Okay. Let's try to do it with it open. Sometimes it takes a little finagling. Let me start over. And do it with it open this time. Except it's harder to see where your fold line is. Now, if you want to go through and you want to make dots like right here so that you know how to line up, take that little paper that you just made or that I just had, and you can take it and, you know, make sure that you're lining it up just so. But again, I'm just trying to get it kind of between the lines here, if that makes sense. And I just kind of want it as close to center as I can possibly get. So, and see, like I can tell this is inching down too low, top to bottom. So I'm just adjusting. And then I'm going to sort of poke my holes in there. And I'm putting that right on that dot. And then I'm going to kind of do it very slowly. I want to make sure that when it comes out kind of in that center there, like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the middle. And I can kind of guide it. I want to make sure it's coming up. I'm just twisting and pushing like that. And then I want to make sure that this one comes up through. Yeah. They're all pretty close to the center. After you do it a few times, you'll get used to it. So, I have my needle in this case that I have a hard time getting it open. And let's see, I'm going to use one of these 2 threads. I thought I was going to use this orange, but I'm actually kind of liking this one. Yeah. Sure. Now let's see if I can get, I haven't opened this one yet, so there we go. All right, 3 lengths. 1, 2, 3. And an inch for good measure. I'd rather have extra than not enough. Oh, I do not. Guess what I don't have? I don't have my glasses on. I have not put them on yet this morning. Okie dokie. Now, I like to put one of these clips or something on the bottom here so I don't accidentally pull it all the way through. Okay. I'm going to start the wrong way. I'm going to start from the outside. If you want your strings on the outside, you have to start from the outside. So, and I am quickly running myself right out of time. I'm going to go through one of the ends. I don't think it matters if you go top to bottom or bottom to top. And pull it close to, there we go. And then I'm going to go back through here, or not back through, I'm going to go through the opposite end. And see, I'm lining up pretty well. And then back down through the middle. Trying not to, I'm going to try to pull both of those out of the way. I can see that I'm splitting my thread, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to see if I can pull that thread. I'm pulling down with this thread. And then, but you want to make sure you go up through the same hole. Okay. I think that will work. And I want to come up on the, oh, yep, I'm good. Thought I had split the thread, but I did not. Okay, so I'm going to pull, I'm going to take my needle out. I'm going to take this off. I think I'm good. So I'm going to make these even, and I'm just going to tie them. I'm going to tie a knot. I'm on both sides of this center thread. This is where I take my clips off. Once I know that I have them through all the holes, because I think it allows the paper to center itself. You're not holding the paper to the box, so it allows itself to center. And then there. You don't want to pull too tight because you don't want to tear it. but you do want it pretty tight so that your pages are in there pretty good. And then I tie a knot, and whichever way you tie a knot is, I don't know special knots. I just know how to tie my shoes. So, and I know I've gotten a pretty good knot in my shoes, so I feel pretty confident that that will work. I think you got to over, under, and under, over, and all that good stuff, but I can't remember from one over and under to, you know. So far, I have not had a journal fall apart. So, I am going to double knot it. Just because I don't tend to add stuff. Well, you know what? No, I'm not. I always leave it so, because I think I'm going to go back and add little thingies to it, and I never do. But not double knotting it gives me the option to add thingies to it. You know, thingies. Little beads and whatnot. Thingies. I don't think I really would like it with thingies on it because the thingies would clink. Okay, so here I am at the front. There's our center, and there's our book. Now, I have about 5 minutes left. And this is going to be, I think, the only embellishment I do to the front of the journal at the moment. And I know that they're not on there straight, so I don't, ugh. I like it, but I don't like it, if you know what I mean. This is, it's actually yarn. It says That 70s yarn. I got it at Michael's. I have it in, it comes in like an ombre. I have it in kind of the blues and purples and then sort of the pinks and oranges. What I was hoping is that I'd be able to glue it on, but see, it twists. I was sort of hoping that I could untwist it enough that I could glue it where it'd be flat that way. Maybe if I do it a little at a time. I used my art glitter glue last time when I did put some of this on a page or on a, it did not stick that well. Let me see. I should have turned this upside down. I'm gonna use my Fabri-Tac. And I'm going to just use a little bit at a time. Fabri-Tac, Fabri-Fix. I think these are alcohol, but I heard somebody recently say they were it was an alcohol based glue, which probably is why it dries quickly, but is also probably why it stinks. So Fabri-Tac, otherwise known as the stinky glue. All right, let me see if I can get, I'm gonna have to untwist and hold. Oh, nope. There we go. Just glue about 2 inches at a time. It's sticking. I don't think that much came out on that one. You don't need a whole lot, but I do want to make sure it sticks. I don't want to have to be fooling with this all month. I'm going to go ahead and, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep doing what I was doing because it was working. And I think I'm going to like this little fringe on my journal. And it hid that little gap. Remember where the tape didn't cover the paper? All right, I should have, in an ideal situation, I would have turned my glue upside down before the video, But I think I'm getting enough out of it that I can glue it down. I'm just trying to get it all facing the same way so it'll glue this bottom part, not the fringe, if that makes sense. Well, I did not glue it straight, but it is on there. I'm going to cut it right there. I'm going to let a little bit of it hang off. That also gives me a little wiggle room if I have to do something different. But I think it's on there. What you think? Oh, a little frilly. Okay, I think it turned out pretty cute. I like it. I like the little frilly. Look at the little fuzzy. And we hid our little boo-boo. Well, it wasn't really a boo-boo. It was just where the tape wasn't wide enough to cover the paper. So there's generally a way to fix a boo-boo or a oops. And then that's why I lined up with the back, because I didn't want to put fringe on the back. My string is fraying. There. I pulled out that loop anyway. So, all right. So we have a little fringe on the front. Isn't that cute? And little fuzzies. Can you see that? It's the little fringy right there. I think that's precious. All right. Kind of a light coral. It's not pink exactly, but it's a light coral. And if I really wanted to add effect, I could go back and string another one of this dark coral on there. That darker coral. Or it's a reddish coral. But I don't feel like pulling that all the way out to get to that point. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the journal. And I have some printables that I've made for August. And this is them. I have the numbers in my Etsy shop, but I have not put the days of the week in there yet. So I'll get those added hopefully today. But here's the numbers that I plan on using. And then a couple flowers and a sun and one little journaling spot. So that's the numbers. They'll be on my Etsy. Hopefully by the end of the day. The numbers are already on there. But hopefully I'll get the days of the week added. By the end of the day maybe. I've got to work the clinic for the better part of the day. And then I have something I have to do tonight. So hopefully I can get those listed by tonight. And I will see you very, very soon. Y'all have a great day. And I appreciate you watching. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.